Welcome to the Restless Journey, the official podcast of Austin Prep. This series offers a closer look at the people, programs, and purposeful initiatives that bring our core values to life. Each episode, we invite voices from across the Austin Prep community, students, faculty, alumni, and friends to share insights, experiences, and reflections that shape who we are today and where we're headed tomorrow. Now, let's get started with today's episode of the Restless Journey podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Restless Journey podcast. My name is Tyler Fleming, Austin Prep's Senior Director of Communications, and I'm joined today by Mr. Jonathan Pollard, our Associate Head of School and a member of the class of 97. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
So every time we have a guest, we decorate the chalkboard, usually by a student that has some sort of relationship or connection to the guest. I know specifically for you, one of the things that is important to you is developing strong school leaders. So we invited members of our school-wide student government to decorate the chalkboard. We had Mikey Brosnan and Cam Jana visit us, who you're very familiar with from the baseball fields. Catherine Antonelli did not participate. She's the school-wide president. She probably had more important matters to attend to.
Definitely.
And Fope was probably, I know, is on continuing her nationwide tour, finding her Division I basketball landing spot. So she was not here, but you had your two guys, got important things in your life. Winning culture, Joshua 19, Swamp Boys, and of course, Santa Claus. So hopefully it makes you feel at home in the podcast studio.
Oh, I definitely do. And we deployed the right guys. A couple of creative lefties got up there and showed off their artistic ability. So I appreciate them reflecting many things that are very important to me.
Very good. Well, before we get into some of the things we want to discuss today, I think we've actually talked about this a little bit. Every podcast is the new podcast, the show and the studio. And I think it's been very popular with people in the community. People are enjoying the podcast, but you had, a really important role in getting this going. We talked about having a podcast and a podcast studio for, 5, 6, 7 years. And within the last year or so, we got it up and running. So on behalf of myself and the communications office and even the school, thank you for your efforts. But any thoughts in terms of why you thought this was important to the school?
Yeah, but first and foremost, thank you to you and other staff members that played really important parts in making this idea come to reality. I think it's a great addition to the school. I think it gives us another forum of how to speak to our community and even outside groups trying to learn more about the school. I was very happy to see the first two guests in the first two episodes. I thought everybody involved did a really great job. But more importantly, I know that the students began to start their journey into this last week or the week before. I heard it went really well, and I think that's really important to have that balance of the communication staff led by you running this podcast studio, but also introducing it to the benefit of the kids and let them start to explore their creativeness and what they want to highlight and show about the school and interact with their peers. I think it's just really good insight into our school community. So thank you to everyone involved, and I couldn't be happier to see it finally come full circle from a dream into reality.
Yes, no, it's been a lot of fun. So looking forward to continue developing the show. But so I think, let's talk a little bit about why you're here today, and I think we'll back it up. I don't want to put a number of years on it, but
please don't.
You started here as an Austin Prep student, so we're looking at the lifespan so far of Jonathan Pollard at Austin Prep. Started as a student, graduated in 97. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the next step there was as an alum. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a decade plus, and you came back as the school's athletic director, ultimately the head baseball coach, and then assistant head of school and associate head of school. So I think when a lot of people think about you and your history here and your growth here, obviously you're always connected with the baseball program and athletics, and then I think more recently in your career specifically overseeing our admissions operation. And I think one of the other things that you've become kind of one of our experts on is the Catholic life, the Catholic identity, and the importance of the values and the mission to you and our school. So all that said, we're not really going to talk about too much of those things today. We're going to kind of focus a little bit more on this more recent role that you have here in terms of overseeing Austin Prep's development efforts.
Sure.
So that's very recent. Maybe talk a little bit about why that change has happened. I know Dr. Hickey tasked you with that maybe over the summer, and as we're getting into this school year, you're really hitting the ground running on that front. So maybe talk a little bit about why Dr. Hickey did that and why that's important to Austin Prep having you leading that charge.
Sure. Yeah, and I appreciate the stroll down memory lane right there. I think before I move on to the development piece, I would just say everything you mentioned and then culminating that resume with, the faith portion of it. Every role that I've been blessed to serve here at Austin Prep has truly been rewarding and fulfilling to me, both personally and professionally. And as mentioned, I do feel very blessed to have worn many hats here because it gives me more opportunity to engage with the community at a school that I really love. In terms of development, I think it was somewhat of a natural progression. As you mentioned, my time at Austin began here in the mid-90s. As a student, and so I've experienced development from a student perspective, from an alumni perspective, and then ultimately from a staff perspective. And I always tend to have my own unique way of doing things. And as I've observed how development has been run over the years, I stayed in my lane, but I probably would have done things a little bit different. So when the opportunity arose for me to get involved in development, I felt like it was a great opportunity and it was time to put up or shut up. If I sit there and say I would have done this differently, I would have tried that differently, I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback. I want to lead by example. I want to take on the challenge and serve the school in any capacity I can. And it appears right now the greatest capacity that I can serve to the school is trying to lead development into its future.
Great. So you talk about leading development at Austin Prep into the future. So why is that specifically important for our school right now?
Sure. So development's very important in all schools. And I think, there's some misconceptions about what development is. And, for those listening that know my connection to the Adirondack chairs outside, I thought that was a really important addition to our school. And I had advocated for that for many years. But when you have the ability to introduce Adirondack chairs, sometimes people might pull up that driveway in terms of development and fundraising and be like, well, where are my fundraising dollars going? I don't want to buy you more Adirondack chairs. I don't want to make this even more comfortable for you. But that's not what it is. When it comes to like the annual fund, that is providing the experiences to the students that extend beyond tuition. And everything outside of the traditional classroom setting is annual fund driven. And I think Philanthropy and our generous donors also set the forum for which we provide a Catholic education. Unfortunately, I think often in Catholic spaces, especially schools, they try to do it on a dime and as affordable as possible. But to me, a Catholic education is so important, and especially here at Austin, a Catholic co-ed education, that I think we really are a one of one in that space of a really elite Catholic co-ed education, but also it's a private school, which allows all kinds of freedoms for us to interact with our kids, educate our kids, and it really is a wonderful opportunity. But at the end of the day, I don't want our kids to not have the highest experience possible. And I think that we should always be driving forward in order to provide that to the kids. And beyond that, we're serving our kids not just to give them this, for lack of a better term, country club experience. We're shaping them to go out into the world and make an impact. And I very much believe in Austin. I very much believe in our mission. I love that we're an Augustinian school. Our kids are shaped at a really important developmental time in their life where truth, unity, and love are at the center of everything that we do. I think that a young man or woman that goes through these developmental years looking at every decision they have to make through the lens of truth, unity, and love ends up being a really impressive young adult. And I think a world that unfortunately is often rooted in lies, division, and hate needs more people to go out there and spread truth, unity, and love. So our space in not only education, but in the world is so valuable that we need to ensure that Austin is here for the long term, that we are serving the greatest community possible. As a day school, we're sort of limited to call it hour radius. But through philanthropic dollars in our development office doing things at the highest level possible, we'll be able to expand that footprint, which in essence should create greater ripples out into the pond of the real world. And hopefully that gives us an opportunity for our alums to go out there and really change the world.
Sure. You had noted it, and I think it's something that we hear a lot here, people in development, but Dr. Hickey in particular, that the tuition dollars that you pay to come to Austin Prep will certainly help to provide some of the collective experience of our students, but really the tuition dollars is what kind of helps the school, just the basic running of the school and the necessities of the school. But as we really look to add innovative programs, I think an example here is the podcast studio, probably something that would not have been able to happen without extra giving associated with it. Another thing that I think we're very proud of is the faculty are really exposed to a high level of professional development. We send, big groups of faculty across the country every year to various conferences and opportunities to become better teachers or administrators. And I think this is just another example of what maybe tuition dollars kind of hit a certain ceiling, and then if you want something extra, that's where the giving really comes into it. So
absolutely, and to your point, the faculty professional development isn't limited to the country. It's actually around the world.
Sure.
Because our teachers travel around the world to get those experiences to bring back, to complement what they're teaching in the classroom, or just to share those worldly experiences with our students.
Sure.
And I think that's very compelling.
Yeah. So in your short time in development here at Austin Prep, I think you've taken a unique approach to raising money and raising funds for the school, and you're really focusing on telling stories, inspiring people to give back. So maybe talk a little bit about how you're approaching this, and maybe some new ideas that you're using to work in development.
Sure. So as I said, I didn't want a Monday morning quarterback, and yes, 100% my approach will probably be unique, so to speak, but I think it actually is very full circle, because when I talk about our students being shaped in a community rooted in truth, unity, and love, I was that student. So my uniqueness to development is simply living mission and how I was formed here at Austin Prep. So in assessing development and how we've done those things in the past, I heard a lot of industry terms like cultivate, wealth screenings, the ask. And I just don't feel that is Austin centric. I don't think it's true to our mission. I don't think it's true to us. And I think in being Austin centric, that's where we're going to find our greatest level of success in all things, but specifically in this example, development. And part of doing that in, truth, unity, and love is when these donors bless our school, community, and our students with their philanthropic dollars, we need to celebrate that, and we need to inspire that through our storytelling. So we've had some very generous donors over the years, and I don't think we always necessarily hit the mark on telling their story, what drove, why they gave, what inspired them. And if you do that, you're constantly starting over. Every year, it's like a new group of donors you're trying to cultivate and ask, versus let's celebrate this, inspire people through the work that we do, because God knows this is a very inspiring place. Let's inspire that so people stay connected to the community and they don't just make one gift, that Austin Prep becomes one of your primary philanthropic interests in trying to give back to a school that gave you or your children so much. So we have done that. We've re-engaged donors of the past. We've started to talk to current donors, and we're like, tell us your story. Why did you give? And we want to really be appreciative of that. And at the end of the day, the donor probably doesn't want to hear from Dr. Hickey or myself. They want to hear from the students, because the students are what drives this. The students, the faculty, and obviously the clergy, those are really important groups for the donors to hear from, because they're really what's driving the dollars being maximized in that return on investment of the donor.
Sure.
So I'm happy that we've been able to do that. I look forward to inspiring future donors and celebrating everyone, not simply who who comes out on a well screening or who we think is a major donor. Every dollar matters, and every dollar that's given to the school should be appreciated, celebrated, and we should engage those donors as part of our community, because that's what they are. Again, that's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but to me, that's Austin-centric. That's living our mission, and celebrating Unitas.
Yeah. So on that point, maybe if you want to talk a little bit about, we just launched an initiative called our Champions of Giving, specifically, as you noted, kind of going back and highlighting some of the people that have given to Austin Prep at a high level, and even more specifically, that have items or classrooms or fields named after them around campus. So we've put together an initiative to kind of tell their story on our website, but maybe talk a little bit about, those people, the contributions that they've made and the importance that their loyalty to our school has meant.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think oddly enough, it's not about necessarily putting your name on something. I think many of our donors have taken advantage of their giving opportunities and what they could name in honoring someone else. And I just find that so mission aligned and so compelling and so inspiring. And that's what needs to drive all of this, is to just inspire each other, that we all give back to this to maximize it and make it the greatest version of Austin Prep that it can be. Because though we have beautiful fields, beautiful classrooms, Adirondack chairs, there's still so much growth opportunity here at Austin Prep. And the only way that we'll ever maximize that growth is through philanthropic dollars. But, I think of Tom Flynn, a member of our board, and he named classrooms after veteran teachers that really shaped him. And think about his journey. He was a student. He was shaped by these really impactful faculty members that still hold so dear to him to this day. He went out, he clearly had professional success that put him in a position to give back to a school. And what did he do with that? He honored those teachers. And that comes back to kind of my previous point of the importance of the time we are involved in these kids' life right now. The developmental years of being teenagers and making sure they make the best decisions, and they're selfless, and they embrace being part of something bigger than they are. And I think when you do that, Austin Prep does not just become a 4-year journey, 7-year journey, depending on your entry point. It becomes a lifelong journey. And there's students today that sit in classrooms named after teachers that they may not know, because those teachers have since retired. And it's been provided through an alum that was once them in those seats. And that's that holistic nature of how this should work. It should just be like the tide of alums moving through consistently. It's never going to go away. We just keep compounding upon ourselves to hopefully ultimately meet the goals of developing at all times, to be growing at all times, to be reinvesting in ourselves and our community at all times. So we always ensure a Catholic co-ed education here on 101 Willow Street is maximized to its greatest potential.
Sure. So obviously, I think anybody who knows you, I'm not sure that there's anybody that leads Austin Prep as much as you do in our community. And I think a lot of that, we talked about all the hats that you've worn over the years. And now this year, I think we wear a similar hat in that I'm a parent of 2 Austin Prep children, and now you are an Austin Prep parent. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of curious, has that, because I know this has for me, but has that kind of changed your approach to, your role here, maybe your interest in supporting the school? Has it changed how you are inspired to potentially give, or even inspired to come to work here, knowing that, you went to school here, you've given yourself professionally here, but now your family is here as well?
Sure. It obviously becomes incredibly personal when my son is here, and then my other son will be here someday. Mm-hmm. But in terms of inspiring my giving, it's nice that my son is part of the community. It's, it's the only school that I would want them to be at, because I just value what Austin Prep is so much, and it's a one of one. There is no other school that provides what I want for my own children. But in terms of giving, I've been giving to Austin for a long time, and the reason being is I feel like it's a privilege. I was blessed to come here. I was blessed to get an education here, and I believe in it so much that every check that I write, every dollar I give, is just a way to ensure that future generations not only get an opportunity to come here, but again, have the best experience possible. And like I said, like, it may sound a little dramatic and, extreme, but that's kind of my personality, I guess. The bleeding green this is a really special spot in the world for a family that wants their child educated in a true Catholic school, in a co-educational model. We have to rally at all times to fortify this space, that families get to come to 101 Willow Street every single day, that children get to enter our hallways and classrooms and be shaped and educated in a true Catholic school. There's a responsibility associated with that, and it's one that I embrace and I appreciate. I truly feel blessed every time I get to write a check to Austin Prep, because I feel like I'm playing my small role within ensuring that the world has this space, that we are shaping these kids in this model that is very Austin-centric, and those kids are going out into the world to make positive impacts on a world that often, unfortunately, has a lot of negativity in it. It's a donation, a check, a dollar amount every year that I just can't wait to give back.
Sure.
I feel like I have to pay it forward because of everything the school has provided me and my family.
Sure. So we're in the fall, and this is kind of one of our main giving times of the year. We're in our fall appeal, and along with that fall appeal, we often pride ourselves in that, generally speaking, we have 100% giving support from our board and 100% giving support from our faculty and staff. And this year, you made a little bit of a change in terms of when we do go and with the fall appeal and we solicit our faculty and staff to give back to Austin Prep, a little bit of a different approach to hopefully inspire them a little more to give back to the school. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what that change was?
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited when I had the opportunity to take over the leadership of development, because this was one of the first things that I wanted to change. We have been very blessed over the years that our staff has always given 100%, but I don't think we've always done a great job of allowing them to create the story we want to tell for them. We have such an amazing staff and such an impactful faculty here, and every time I see like a faculty member present or I sit in on a class, I'm just so inspired because they're so talented and they're so innovative and creative, that I wanted to take those skills of our faculty and staff and apply it to the annual fund, and let's make this impactful. Nobody knows what can be more impactful than the faculty of Austin Prep. They live it every single day. So what we did, and I don't want to give away anything because we'll be making the big announcement of where their collective funds are going to go, but we had 30, 40 submissions from our faculty and staff that they want to, when all the giving is completed and whatever that dollar value is, we are going to earmark that money within the annual fund and put all of those funds towards a specific initiative created and supported and voted upon by the faculty and staff. So I think when it's all said and done and that introduction to our school comes through this year's donations and annual fund, it's going to be a great story to tell, because I think our alums need to hear it. I think our parents, both present and past, need to hear it and get a reflection of just how special the faculty is at Austin Prep and how unique they are and also how attentive they are to saying, we have this wonderful school, but what can we do to make it better? And not only saying what to do, they get behind it with their own money. And what greater expression of how all in they are to this school, this idea, and this Catholic experience than for our staff members to give their own money and say, we want to provide this to the school. I just think it's so inspiring.
Yeah, and I think, as you noted, I think it's going to really motivate the staff to give, and it's something that they want, they've asked for, and I think it's going to help them improve and increase the student experience. So that should be good.
And I will say though, again, I don't want to give anything away, but the proposals that have come in as a parent, as your previous question, I am so thankful that my son sits in class with teachers like this.
Sure.
Because the proposals are so student focused. There's going to be probably a sizable dollar amount that comes out of this. And the teacher's singular focus is how can we reinvest this back in the kids? So as a parent, knowing I have a son here, to be like, wow, these people had this money to spend and they chose to do it to elevate the student experience versus their own. It just speaks to the staff, but more so it speaks to our faculty and staff living the mission of Austin and really believing in our core values.
Sure. So on the heels of that, in about a week or so, we're celebrating our annual Day of Giving, November 13th, which we always celebrate on St. Augustine's birthday. I believe he would have been 1,671 years old this year. So we'll celebrate with a big party, giving back to Austin Prep. So any thoughts about that day, or this is your chance to ask?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm not going to do asks. Yeah. What I would say to the community is, in terms of development, please just pay attention. See what we put out. We do have our Champions of Giving section on our website. See what we're doing every day. See how we are reinvesting dollars that have come in back into the student experience in the school and ensuring that Austin is here for a long time and continues to make an impact on the world. But if we are doing a good job and we are inspiring you and inspiring your children and you feel appreciative, we would love any amount of money that the community would give back to the school. To me, there is no dollar value. It is more of a participation thing. I think if you sit there and think, you buy somebody a cup of coffee, you buy somebody lunch or dinner. Well, think about it in that term. Buy Austin a cup of coffee. If that's the level you want to get into, then sure, buy him a cup of coffee. But it just shows when we have those huge numbers of donors versus huge number of what's given, I think that's reflective of the strength and the power and the connection of our community. So in time, as we continue to tell other stories, if anything resonates with you, if you ever want to earmark money towards something, if you want to honor someone that played a role in your life through a naming rights opportunity, please reach out to us. But again, I only want that if folks are inspired and believe in what we're doing.
Sure. So to close here, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. We won't put a dollar figure on it, but if you, this year is you're giving your gift back to Austin Prep and you had to make a restricted gift, what's one initiative on campus you'd either want to support or start or inspire others to support?
So, geez, there's so many spaces that I would love to give back. I guess I will tell you one of my proposals that I put into the faculty and staff. I would love to see like a really professional level nativity displayed under our Christmas tree. Our Christmas tree lighting at Austin has become another one of our amazing Christmas traditions. And I just think as a child, like I would go to the center of town to see like the life-size nativity that's displayed. I think in time I would love to see that introduced to our community, where not only do our current community maybe take that ride over and check out the nativity and remember the reason for the season. And it's, it's not just my buddy Santa, but it's more so Jesus Christ. I would love to have that happen internally, but if we could ever get back to that, probably how we remember being kids, or you're driving to see that, in the center of town or something, I would love to have that on campus for even the external community to come in and be inspired by what's happening here and what Christmas is actually all about.
Sure. Yeah, I think, we say this a lot, but there's no better time of year at Austin Prep than the Christmas season. So we're almost there. December is great. And, we started the show by saying you've worn so many hats here over the years, from student, alum, coach, and now school administrator and school leader. But there is another hat that you often wear here. And as we are getting into the Christmas season, I thought we would bring this. I think most people know what this means. There are probably new students here that maybe not quite know what that means. It sounds like your son probably, while a new student, understands who the big guy is. But you'll need that. I believe the rest of the suit is stored away somewhere here. But we look forward to the Christmas season, and we look forward to continuing to work and thrive here under your leadership, and can't wait to see what happens in the world of development here in the future at Austin Prep.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything. Thank you for the podcast. Thank you for having me on. And yes, this hat, I do have a connection with the big guy, and his suit is at the North Pole right now. So I can ensure that Santa has confirmed he will be visiting the Austin Prep campus this year. So buckle up and let's enjoy the season. Like you said, there's no better time at Austin Prep between Nutcracker, lessons and carols, the tree lighting, and then obviously we're a pretty special place, so Santa visits us exclusively every single year.
Yeah, and maybe this year we can get a gift out of Santa.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got the elves to provide it,
There you
so
go.
I think he has unlimited capabilities.
Very good. Well, thanks again. Appreciate you joining the show.
Of course, thank you very much.